this computer. All right, welcome to the 30-day meditation, 30-day challenge, 30-day meditation challenge kickoff for April 2017. My name is Kristoffer Carter, and I am proud and excited to be your MC on this journey. Let's get going here. So the promise of the 30-day challenge was to create, reinstall, or upgrade the habit that has the potential to upgrade all others. That's a pretty lofty, ambitious promise, is it not? Well, it's been my direct experience that this is absolutely the case with meditation, which is why I've been so passionate about sharing this practice with all of you. Again, my name is Kristoffer Carter. I have a site called This Epic Life. On one side of my business, I do organizational consulting and meditation programs for corporate clients and organizations. And then on the other side, I do coaching and mentorship for individuals. So that's me. What you may or may not also know about me is that I am a part 2 full-time unicorn. This is kind of like my public facing shenanigans that I bring to events. I tend to amplify so much uncomfortable levels of positive energy that sometimes I just can't contain it, and I have to go, buy a big wheel or dress as a unicorn. But I assure you, that's not all that I offer. It's really just kind of the celebration of some of the stillness and some of the confidence and some of the internal gravitas I've cultivated over the years through my meditation practice. I'm a very devout yogi in the sense that I practice scientific teaching, scientific methods of meditation as taught by Paramahansa Yogananda, the author of Autobiography of the Yogi. He is my guru. His teachings were meant to be the guru following his passing in 1952. And I've studied those fairly rigorously over the last 5 years, and I feel like I'm just maybe one baby step into the spiritual path. But that's a little bit about me. And let's talk about you. Let's talk about the typical day at the typical job. And many of you don't have the typical job, which is awesome for you. But this is how it goes. All of these are inputs into your brain, whether it's coffee or the phone in your pocket or the double screens in front of you or the people next to you saying, "Did you see Dancing with the Stars last night?" All these things kind of contributed to a little bit of static in our heads. And we have to be diligent and vigilant about quelling this static and managing it, and ideally navigating towards the things that we want to navigate to in our lives. Would you agree with that? Something I talk with a lot of my organizational clients about, and this is just increasing in its impact on business in general is, and life on earth, let's be honest, is we face on a given basis more, it's VUCA, which is a military acronym. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And how do we navigate these potentially negative forces when we have limited skills to do so? If we feel like we're just operating down in the maze and that we're a victim of all these ominous forces, it doesn't necessarily add up to a happy, self-directed life. So if we know that we're going to be navigating more VUCA going forward, whether it's in our politics or in our weather patterns or just life in general, we need some skills to help ground us in the process. How this shows up on the ground, this is one of my favorite memes of all time. I share it with every presentation on meditation I do. What the hell is that? Oh, it's just my mind. It's like exploding like fluorescent ramen noodles out the back of your head. Does anybody identify with that? I certainly did at some point, and still on some days. And then this also shows up as open new tab, forget why. And I feel like this little meme is a metaphor for so much of our lives at computers. Last night, by the way, I traveled out to California by way of Las Vegas and dealt with many harrowing curveballs in the travel journey. And my suitcase has not shown up. So I liked my clothes from yesterday so much that I'm wearing them again today because they're my only option. But yet, I will tell you that I still got my hour of meditation in today because it just had to happen before a day like this. So let's quickly talk about stress, because we have to be able to kind of manage this in our own lives. It's not going away. It hasn't gone away from me practicing over the last 12 years or daily over the last 5 or 6 years either. But as I mentioned in an email yesterday, 43% of adults suffer the health effects from stress. 90% of all doctors' visits are for stress-related complaints. And this has, just in the US alone, about a $300 billion impact on business. And not to mention that 70% of distractions and sleepiness, they cause about 70% of job-related accidents. So these things are serious, and stress has a definite impact. And our traditional coping mechanisms for this was, of course, lighting another candle. I'll just stay up longer. I will work harder, do more, become more, drink some Red Bull on my way to the gym and just go, go, go. And I don't necessarily find a whole lot of value in that. It's fun for a little while, and but it doesn't really get us to the level of stillness and calm that I think we're ultimately craving here. So let's start talking about meditation and defining what I'm talking about. Over the next 30 days, I want you to create a meditation habit. And there's a lot of confusion out there about what is meditation and what is mindfulness. And I want to just try to break this down as simple as possible. This is how I think about it. And you may meet other teachers that disagree with this or have their own views on this. But this is one easy way to think about it, is that one of these is a practice that drives the other one. The other one, to me, mindfulness, is a desired behavior. We want to show up in our lives more mindful, more better equipped to manage and to navigate through that VUCA, as I mentioned, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And meditation is a way to quiet our minds prior to heading out into the world, hopefully with a better sense of wakefulness. So when I think of meditation, I think of a eyes closed, sitting, stillness practice. And I think of mindfulness, I think of eyes open, moving about the world in a more mindful state. Does that make sense? Here's some common myths of meditation, is that it's the same as relaxation, that it's only about trying to quiet the mind and have these thoughts of bliss or a state of bliss, that it's only based in or limited to only Eastern religions, that it's used to pursue enlightenment only. And granted, it did originate over there, and it's still very much a part of the day-to-day lives. And trust me when I say I think that they're further ahead of the West in their daily practice and how it's woven into their lives. However, it's not limited to them, and that many of us in Western cultures can truly benefit from the practice. And that meditation is about detaching or escaping from your problems. Trust me when I say they will all be there waiting for you right after your meditation practice. However, you will have more discernment, more calmness, and more creativity to attack those problems and to solve them and move past them. That's my promise to you. Here's a way to think about it, how I define meditation. It's not the serene absence of thought. It's the time you dedicate to calmly wrestling your mind back into focus. And I always bring up the example of building a house of cards. If your job was to sit there and build this house of cards and I kept on brushing past it and knocking it over, I would expect you to be pretty annoyed with me. However, what's going to actually get that house of cards built is your determination to navigate the wind and the weather and my annoying behavior and build the house anyway. And it's similar to building your own house of cards out of your attention. So let's start talking about ways of grabbing and holding and directing our attention. Really quick, some research. And it's all kicked off by this amazing quote that's changed my life in any number of ways over the years. This is Viktor Frankl from Man's Search for Meaning. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our ability to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And that encapsulates the space that we have the ability to consciously create between action and reaction, between something being thrown at us or hurled at us or negativity in front of us, and our ability to choose how we respond to it. And to me, that really is the battleground of life, that we can move through this life more consciously, more deliberate, more aware and intentional on how we want to allocate our resources. 43%. Harvard-affiliated Mass General Hospital found that instituting techniques such as yoga and meditation could reduce the need for healthcare services by as much as 43%. 2008 study found that one company, 24 subjects that studied basic meditation techniques, significantly grew in leadership skills as defined by leadership practices inventory. And in my corporate trainings, I'm always trying to create leaders, not merely managers. We can manage people, we can manage projects, we can manage our time, but leadership is a different set of skills. And any practice that creates the reflection and the self-reflection necessary and the confidence really to move forward and to show up in a different way, that changes the entire organization. What you'll find over these 30 days is if you stick with it and you do it, the people around you will first become, they might heckle you at first, they might challenge you, they might ask you if you're serious, but then they'll notice that you're showing up a little bit differently, and then they're going to be really curious and intrigued. And over the course of months or years, you might find that you're changing the people around you just simply by your example. That's the power of the practice. And finally, personal effectiveness. The University of Westminster found in a study of CEOs that they significantly grew in self-confidence as well as in inspiring a shared vision and demonstrating moral intelligence. In our modern society, who couldn't use more of this in their lives? And we've heard the Gandhi quote, "We must be the change we wish to see in the world." No more powerful practice than meditation to create this in ourselves. We know these 4 quadrants, don't we? Time management. If you spend all your time in the important and urgent matters, you're going to be putting out fires all day, versus if you focus on planting seeds for the future on the things that are not urgent but important. This is quadrant 2. This is right out of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Classic book. It's been translated into a bazillion languages. And these are the big time wasters. If we're spending our time in urgent stuff that is unimportant, that just sounds stupid, but we do it anyway. I do it. We're all guilty of it. And finally, 4, a lot of Facebook feed and a lot of BuzzFeed and these crazy time wasters fall into quadrant 4. But meditation, I've found in terms of my time investment, it is the pinnacle quadrant 2 activity. So even a 5-minute investment or a 10-minute or a 15-minute investment over these next 30 days will absolutely inspire you to spend more of your time and more the balance of your time in this quadrant 2 in the not urgent but important things. It just has that superpower about it. It's a little magical fairy dust that the practice sprinkles on your life. This is how I think about it in terms of organizational effectiveness too. And the reason I show you this is just to show you a little bit of my thought process around creating the 30-day challenge for all of you. Is that it's one thing to take an online mindfulness course or to go to like a 1-day workshop or maybe stick around after yoga class and learn about meditation. But if you want to move up into true effectiveness with it, you have to solidify a daily personal practice with it. Really, the meditation practice is the daily accrual of effort over time, and it becomes this compounding benefit that's paid back to you in so many profound ways. But you have to be willing to take the daily time to make that daily investment. And it's similar with organizations. And these are the types of programs I run for organizations. Is that Aetna, I met their chief mindfulness officer, Andy Lee, a few months ago. And he talked about the same model is that, he could educate people on mindfulness, but it doesn't mean anything if they're not practicing on a daily basis. So here's how we're going to do this. Are you ready to do this? I sure as heck am. This is the part that I've been excited to get to. By the way, I just opened up my drawer here at my desk in my hotel room, and there's some just fascinating things in here. Just need to take a little energy break. All right, here's how we're going to do this. Who's ready to hear how we're going to tackle this challenge? I'm going to take just Carolyn Dragon raised her hand. I love you, Carolyn Dragon. Simon Brown raised her hand. Deb, ass on the cushion, line hand. Yes, Deb. Yes, raise those hands. Rick Charlie, raise them up. Sally, Paul. Oh my gosh, Paul Forbes. So awesome to see you in here, brother. I've been thinking about you. Marion, Peter, Jody Temple. What? Oh my gosh, raise them up. Raise them up. Here's how we're going to do this over the next 30 days. For starters, This is about as simple as it gets. If you already have a practice, by the way, and you aren't going to stair step from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, if you have a daily practice of 15 minutes, my challenge to you, if you wish to accept it, is to increase your practice by 25% over the next 30 days. Can you do this for me? I promise you 25% will create some powerful, powerful shifts. For me, that equates to another 15 minutes. So I go up to 75 minutes each session. And I'm like, where do I get the time? But so see, we're all in this together. And by the way, I don't tell you that to brag about my own duration. It has nothing to do with duration of your sessions. It has everything to do with consistency. Duration is just something you build up over many years of doing it, you know, similar to running marathons or anything else, or raising 3 kids versus 1, whatever it is. So here's how we're going to do this. The first 10 days, you are going to meditate every single day, no excuses, no whining. Okay, you can whine, but no excuses, 5 minutes per day. Then the next 10 days, you're going to move up into 10 minutes per day. And then finally, for the final 10 days, you are going to do 15 minutes per day. Why 15 minutes? These arbitrary times. It's because I know that if I get the consistency going for you the first 10 days, you're going to do the 10, then you're going to do the 15. If you finish the 30 days with a 15-minute-a-day habit, you will be, wow, light years ahead of where I was, because it took me about 10 years to get to 15 minutes every single day, no excuses. And then over the last 4 to 5, I've been in the 60-minute plus range. But 15 minutes per day, that means every 96 days, you'll experience a 24-hour period of meditation. Like, think about that. That means 3+ days a year, you'll be dedicating to quieting the mind and strengthening your meta attention. Powerful, right? That's a powerful investment. And it's only 15 minutes a day. Remember, little tiny investments in the piggy bank come back to you in big, profound ways. You're going to be getting daily prompts. These should start tomorrow. Hopefully, many of you might already be getting these or have gotten them in the past from me. But these are designed and written to kind of kick your ass at the right stage throughout the 30 days, because you're going to go through this emotional roller coaster. You're like, it's so exciting. I'm so inspired. Casey's got me fired up. And then day 7 comes and shit gets real. And you're like, God, life is so hard. I don't know. And it's kind of like therapy. It almost gets worse before it gets better. When you start opening up these kind of new semi-dormant pathways of perception in yourself, stuff can bubble up to the surface. And it's perfectly all right and it's perfectly normal. But you'll find a lot of support in those daily prompts. It's the visual image that you'll see here, but it's also the writing down below it, where I really tried to tune in to what you may be going through and what I remember going through over 30 days of creating my own practice. By the way, but like I said, it took me years to do that. But I was trying to think through that emotional curve. But you're going to do this in 30 days. I have no doubts. It's going to be amazing. I have no doubts because so many hundreds of people, thousands at this point, have done this before you in these 30-day challenges. And it's incredibly inspiring to watch. So do it. And if you feel inspired, please share these with the world. The more the merrier in these. I really try to just give all this content and this curriculum in the effort to pay back a little bit of what was given to me by all my teachers and the people that inspired me along the way. So the more the merrier, and people could jump in at any time. All right, so let's break it on down. How do I spend 15 minutes alone with myself? Sounds like a dicey proposition. In the past, you might say, well, I usually just sit there and think about how insane I am because I can't stop thinking about the monkeys crawling in through the windows into my brain. But you don't need to do that. We are going to give you a process and a way to focus here. Just give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to move my toolbar and I'm going to unshare my camera because I want to really be able to focus on this. All right, there are 3 phases of a meditation practice. So you'll see on the left here, this is the start of the session, and all the way on the other side is the end of the session. And we have to start by getting our own attention. And we're going to walk through and we're going to actually practice here live, getting our own attention. And then you'll notice in the center, the bulk of the time is in holding our own attention. And that's really the work of the practice. This is where you're really going to wrestle your mind back. And remember, our fundamental definition of meditation, it's not just the absence of thought we're looking for, because if it was, it'd be pass fail and we would all suck at it. By the way, we all suck at first at this. But if you look at the definition more as it's the time we spend on wrestling our minds back into focus over time, we're going to spend most of our time trying to hold our attention and just bringing the attention back, whether it's to the breath, to stillness, to whatever the visual guided meditation might be. And then finally, we get to kind of celebrate holding our own attention by directing our attention to our ultimate good, or our highest power, or our highest intentions, how we want to spend our day. And that really starts driving a lot of positive change in our lives. But we can't skip over steps 1 and 2 to get to 3. Does that make sense? So let's try getting our own attention. If you could humor me for a couple minutes, let's do some 4-7-8 breathing. And these are really simple. All we do is we're going to inhale for 4 counts. We're going to hold for 7 counts, and we're going to release for 8. So on your next inhale, so breathe out first, like exhale all the oxygen out of your lungs, and breathe in for a count of 4 through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Now hold for 7 if you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now big breath out for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At the start of your practice every day, I'd like you to do a minimum of 4 of these breathing cycles. It should take you about 57 seconds to do this, so you definitely have time to do it. But when you get up in the morning and your body's tired, and by the way, try not to look at your phone if you can help it before you meditate. Just start your timer and get started. But when you do, you want to start by getting your own attention and just reminding your body that you are the ghost in the machine, you're at the wheel, and the body, which includes the mind, can just relax while you focus on the breath. And this particular number pattern has a lot of power to it. You could do some research on this on Google, but it almost triggers kind of a self-soothing response that infants naturally have in their breathing cycles. And it makes us forget a lot of the shallow breathing, crazy thought intensity of our normal work day, and takes us into this slowed down, more deliberate breathing that we need. So that's getting our own attention, 4-7-8 breathing. All right, let's take 1 minute and meditate together. And it's just a minute, you could do it. So we're seated comfortably, our spine is straight. We're going to breathe in and out through the nose, focusing on the breath. Keep the screen white if you can. And just know that your thoughts are going to enter this screen. And this was the first meditation process given to me just years and years ago. But you could picture yourself seated in an empty IMAX theater, and you have a screen that wraps all around your periphery. And your only job is to keep the screen white. Sounds like easy enough, right? Except that thoughts keep appearing on the screen, which we already said, it's perfectly fine. They're going to happen. But your only job is to just non-judgmentally wipe the screen to white and keep bringing the focus back as many times as necessary. So let's take 60 seconds and do this. And if you excuse me 1 second, I'm looking for my phone because I want to be able to time this. Just bear with me 1 second. So interesting. My phone is missing. That's fine. So here we go. 60 seconds. Sit up straight. Thighs parallel to the floor. Chin parallel to the floor. And breathe in and out through the nose. Let's get started now. Picture the screen within your consciousness, and as passing thoughts or worries or concerns enter the screen, Just picture wiping the whole screen to white, or maybe even tapping each thing, each thought, and let it disappear or fade back to white. With the only goal to immerse ourselves and expand on this white, beautiful screen. Knowing that whatever thoughts appear, that we are not our thoughts. We are watching from a wider vantage point. And we're determined for this time to release those thoughts as many times as necessary. Okay, that's just about a minute. Now, what happened? When I do this for my corporate clients, people usually share that they had persistent thoughts that popped up a few times. And then as they started either tuning into my voice or tuning into the visualization, that they got, the thoughts seemed at the very least to slow down, or maybe start creating some space in between them, or maybe disappear altogether. One of the fun things I like to do is to, right before we start the 1 minute meditation, is to tell people, whatever you do, don't think about a monkey. And then of course people are thinking about monkeys and they're crawling in through the windows and it drives them nuts. But just know that your investment here of time is really just to clear the screen as many times as necessary. There's a few different visualizations we're going to use in the guided meditations I give you as part of the program. One of them is the sky, reminding yourself that you are the sky, watching all weather move through you. So instead of the screen, you're seeing the blue sky with clouds representing thoughts pass through. And you just have to release those and let them roll on by and not get too caught up in them. So here's what you're doing during these sessions. You have your attention, you're going to get it, you're going to hold it, and you're going to direct it. And here's how this might shake out over a 5-minute, 10-minute, or 15-minute session. You know, for a 5-minute session, maybe you're spending 1 minute getting your own attention, 3 minutes holding your attention, and then directing your attention. I didn't talk too much in depth about that, but it's really just the time you spend lingering on after the practice, you know, kind of absorbing the fruits of your labor and this hard work of getting and holding your attention and directing it somewhere positive. Maybe it's looking at a vision board. Maybe it's reciting a mantra or a lens statement. That's a process that we create as part of This Epic Life. But holding yourself to your highest standard, your highest good, is a great place to start. Or maybe just setting some intentions for the day. So one of the things I do after an hour of meditation is I do a little bit of prayer, and I ask for only kind words and patient words to come from my lips as I head upstairs to my circus of children in the kitchen eating breakfast. I don't want to rush them out the door and, you know, bring any chaos to the situation. I want to be the calm. So just some thoughts on sitting a little while afterwards and directing your attention. For a 10-minute practice, this might be 1 minute of getting your attention, 7 minutes of, you know, the work of holding it, and then a couple minutes of directing the attention. And then the 15 minutes, and these could vary for everybody, but these are just suggestions, is to spend 2 minutes up front doing some 4-7-8 breathing, really quieting the mind, and then the holding the attention, settling into the rhythm of the breath, bringing the attention back as many times as necessary, and then a couple minutes at the end directing the attention. I hope you find that helpful. This is, you know, kind of a big question mark I had as I was developing my own practice. Like, what do I do for these 5 minutes? I mean, I need a place to focus. I need at least a starter process so I'm not just left alone with my thoughts. And by the way, I have a lot of compassion and empathy for you, because it is challenging at first to be alone in a room with your thoughts. But I promise you, you can drop all of them and find the gaps between them. With that, before we open up to some Q&A, I want to share this powerful passage from the teachings of my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. These are from the at-home study lessons from Self-Realization Fellowship, and this is something I share with just about every course I create, whether it's the New Sobriety or the full life integration courses I've offered in the past. But this is something that's worth planting a seed with you. And this is why you're going to not only kick this 30-day challenges, but to move forward in your life after these 30 days with a new sense of determination and power. So here we go. A wish implies a helpless desire of the mind. A desire is a stronger wish. It is often followed by fitful efforts to manifest itself into action. An intention or a determination is a definite, strong desire expressed very forcefully once or twice through action for the accomplishment of a certain purpose. Such a determination, however strong, is often discouraged after one or perhaps several unsuccessful efforts. But a volition consists of a series of continuous, undiscourageable, unceasing determinations and acts revolving around a desire until it becomes dynamic enough to produce the much craved result. I always have to pause here and just kind of feel this in my body. It's just, this is really the source of every lightning bolt I've ever created in my marketing or in my work. This is where it comes from. It's powerful. Will and act until victory is the slogan of all volitive activity. No matter how impossible of accomplishment a goal may seem, the man or woman of volition never stops repeating conscious acts of determination to achieve it as long as they live. All right. Before we get into that, I just want to say a couple words here. I'm going to share my camera here. And I'd like to talk directly to you. This is not really planned or scripted, but if you're here right now, you're here for a reason, and it's a very powerful reason if you think about it, is that as humans continue to evolve, we have certain needs that we want met. Maybe we're chasing fame or fortune or material success or family or these noble worldly pursuits through a good chunk of our life. But at some point, always in the back of our heads, and it's usually the quietest voice, it's asking us to awaken in some way, to be more authentically ourselves, to find our own version of happiness and fulfillment, not based on any script that somebody handed us, whether it's our parents or the government. Or whoever, or culture, and to really tune in to the signal inside ourselves, because that is where our true authentic purpose and our true wisdom and our true offering to the rest of the world resides. So I don't take it lightly that people show up for the 30-day challenge. I think it's fun, and I think it's a community building exercise, and we can create this practice. But I just wanted to give you a lot of props personally, just fellow meditator to meditator, that this is very important work, and I'm very proud of each of you for taking the small step and just being here. It's not small, actually. It's kind of big. And the 30 days will be challenging. It's not just a walk in the park. It's not all like rah fun. It can get hard. However, my promise is that if you keep with it and kind of take some of what the guru said to heart, which is that you can have this conscious will revolving around your desires. Meditation will create this very powerful will inside yourself to tackle all these other things in your life, whether you have a problem with eating or drinking or how you treat your kids or yourself or any of these things. Like, that's the power of, that promise I made you, which is that it does have the power to upgrade all other habits. So that's a little bit about the practice, and I just want to give you that kind of props. And I see you making the effort and showing up fully. And I hope this is a little bit more than just a fun thing to do for 30 days. So with that, I want to open up the Q&A. Let's see if we have any questions here. And you can also hit me in the chat. 1 second. Yeah, are there any specific questions you have about anything I covered so far or anything about the program? I will tell you some of the fun like add-ons to the 30-day challenges. We have a couple communities you could access. One of them is on Facebook community. However, I try to use that kind of lightly because Facebook is its own snake pit of addiction, let's be honest. Not that I have that problem or anybody else. But there's also in the Insight Timer app, which is part of the prep kit. If you get in the Insight Timer app, you can access the pause meditation group. There's also on Fridays, I host live guided meditations at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you really have to make those live. I don't make them available for replay, but it's a great opportunity to do a little group practice as well for 30 whole minutes. I know that sounds long, but it goes really fast when you're being guided. Will I be releasing the guided meditations? Yes, Sarah, I'm so glad you asked about that. I've been kind of going crazy with Insight Timer lately. I uploaded the first few, a 5-minute and a 10-minute the other day, and they're still under awaiting approval. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on them through the day today. And if for some reason they're not approved by Insight Timer, they should be available right within the app under my name. So if you search Kristoffer Carter, you will be able to find, there's 8 of them in there currently, but they're longer. There's going to be a whole new wave of them getting approved here. But if for some reason they're not an Insight Timer, I will upload them to either SoundCloud or make them available in the Facebook group or other places for you to make sure you have them. But yeah, my goal is to have them in Insight Timer because it's so nice because you actually get credit for those in your Insight Timer for when you do the 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So just know that that's in process. I'm just wondering why they're taking so long to get approved. Great question. DDK, awesome question. What is the difference between guided and unguided meditation? My goal for each of you is to get to 15 minutes a day unguided. I would love each of you to have the power to meditate wherever you are, whether it's a crowded bus or a crowded airport terminal or at your desk, wherever it may be. And guided just means that you have somebody in your ears guiding you through the process, guiding you through the session. And Insight Timer is great also because you have access to thousands or hundreds of amazing guided meditations from teachers all over the world, myself included. And those can be very powerful, but I kind of look at guided meditation as the dad holding the two-wheeler seat, kind of running you down the cul-de-sac and, getting ready to let go. And my goal is to let go and have you, really create that practice for yourself. And someday I want you guiding yourself. I want you guiding yourself through getting my attention, holding my attention, directing my attention. But then also, eventually, who knows, maybe someday you'll be guiding others. Imagine that. I never thought I would be teaching others meditation, but it's given so much to me, I have to do it. Hope that helps answer that question. Yeah, I'm not saying that guided meditation is bad in any way, but I do think that it's more powerful to be able to practice on your own without the guides. And at first, I totally get it. People want as much structure and support as they could handle, but there is a power to creating it on your own. Yeah, Sarah said, excited about the new 5 and 10-minute meditations, especially as I challenge myself to increase my daily practice. Began a couple years ago through a 30-day challenge you hosted. Wow, Sarah, I know, I recognize your name. It's so awesome to see you still in here and still doing the work. Yeah, Rob said he could totally identify with identifying the new tab. Awesome. Yeah, opening the new tab. I know. The world's a crazy making place. We have to be able to move beyond that. Paul said, when you meditate later in the day, do you feel like it takes you more time to get your attention? Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, Paul. I think when we spoke a few months ago, I probably shared, but I'm a big proponent of meditating first thing in the morning for a number of reasons. One, it's your best chance at a clean slate before the day has its way with you, before your kids show up and before the clients show up and the email starts and all that stuff. And also, you don't have to chase it throughout the rest of the day. I mean, I had an 18-hour day with all my travels yesterday, and I'm so grateful I got my time in before I left my house yesterday, early morning, because I never would have gotten it in at night, and I never would have been able to manage the day to the level that I did if I didn't get it in. And I always feel kind of like that little critter in the movies, the Ice Age movies, that little rat that chases the acorn around. If I don't get my practice in first thing in the morning, I'm always like, where am I going to fit it in? Can I do it between these meetings, whatever? And then if you're sandwiching it between meetings, you're only thinking about those meetings. And it does. It's very much harder to do it in the afternoon. That said, the teachings that I follow strongly recommend certain hours of the day are ideal. One of them is the 5 to 6 hour. So it's kind of like between work and dinner. And I have been experimenting with that segment as well, but midday is really hard because that's when the day is in full bloom. So I wouldn't recommend doing it in the afternoon if you could help it. Rick Charling, morning is usually not an issue for me. The way my brain works is more uphill all day. And then by bedtime is when my brain is going full tilt. Can you talk a little about the difference between a morning and an evening practice? But yeah, that's a great one. I heard this great analogy, and maybe it was from the Tim Ferriss podcast, but they basically said that most people, especially Americans, go to sleep. The metaphor they use for going to sleep, how an American puts themselves to bed, is kind of like trying to park in a parking space going 35 miles an hour, right? So if your head hits the bed at like 35 miles an hour, it's like you're ramped up on your phone, you're ramped up on news, you're ramped up on the day, all these things, and then you're laying in bed and your head is spinning. And one of the best things you could do is to just be really intentional about how you fade in the day and how you fade out the day. And meditation is great for that. So in transcendental meditation, they really recommend, and Deepak Chopra has done this for decades, is a 30-minute session in the morning, 30-minute session at night, bookends the day. And that's a great thing to do too. If you could do 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night, that's a great way to kind of fade in and fade out the day. I will tell you, it will be harder to get your own attention at the beginning of that evening session. However, you can do it. You dim the lights, you go through the little ritual, you get your butt on the cushion or the chair, and you just start slowing it all down. And I guarantee you that your sleep will naturally improve and you'll be able to go to bed easier. There's also some great guided meditations in the Insight Timer app around Yoga Nidra, which is ambient evening music for meditation. And you could lay there. I won't really count that as your time investment because it's a really passive, you're going to fall asleep. You'll peace out as soon as it comes on probably. But evening meditations can be very powerful. If I don't get my meditation practice in, this usually happens at least once a week, maybe twice. If I don't get my morning meditation in because I'm traveling or my kids have stuff going on or I'm trying to get out of the house in the morning, I will do it last thing at night before I go to bed. And I will carve out, 30 to 45, 50 minutes, and I'll really just be very deliberate and intentional about quieting the mind, tuning in, and getting the practice in before bed. And Paul said, and thank you for sharing that it took a while for your meditation habit to stick. Sometimes it's hard not to feel guilty for having started and stopped. Yeah, the thing is, like, none of this is pass fail. I could tell you, like, one of the things that I heard recently from a monk that really made me feel so good about this was that meditation is a lifelong journey. And more than that, depending on your spiritual beliefs, us yogis really believe in reincarnation. And chances are lifetimes led up to this lifetime that, got us more interested in the practice. And you start and you stop and you start and you stop. It's a lot like all good habits, whether it's, curbing our drinking over time or eating better or starting a running practice. And you don't get anywhere by just beating the hell out of yourself and telling yourself you're a failure because you didn't meditate today. The fact that I, did or didn't meditate today doesn't make me a meditator. The fact that I've meditated, 1,500 out of the last 1,520 days, makes me a meditator. So, whenever you start to feel those feelings of failure come up, just sit down and get your time in. It's not a lot of time, and just know that you are building the habit. Cool. Yeah, Rob, sure thing, man. I'm glad you appreciate it. I hope you found it valuable. Any other questions I could answer for you guys? And I'm happy to unmute people as well if anybody's brave and wants to raise their hand to be unmuted. Because I'm getting ready to start my day in Silicon Valley, and I have to start by going and getting my suitcase and clothes, and then seeing where my schedule netted out, because a lot of my meetings have gotten pushed because of this. But it's going to be an exciting day. And more than that, it's going to be an exciting month. I've never run the 30-day meditation challenge in April before, but as I think about all of the blooms starting to bud on the trees and the weather getting nicer and ramping up into May, there's no better time of the year I could think of than doing it this month. So I really appreciate you guys taking me up on the opportunity. And again, please share it with others you think could benefit. Let people know what you're doing, just so they look at you kind of suspect at first, and quickly get inspired by what you're doing. Cool. A couple last things I'll share with you. Let me unshare my camera here. Is this. Okay. As I mentioned, challenge your friends. They need challenged like we all do. Not many people even think about this route until they hear a lot about the benefits of it, but they don't know the experience of it until somebody who is experiencing it shares it with them. So I could scream it from the rooftops till I'm, numb, like I do just about every day, but it really means nothing until people sit down and actually do it. So I want you to share your experience with your friends, not just about this particular program, but about the practice. Again, Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern. We call it the pause. Next Friday, April 7th, it's at 9 a.m. And you can learn more about it at thisepiclife.com/the-pause. There's everything you need. If you bookmark that link, you can just click the Zoom link and you'll come straight into the guided meditation, and we'll do 30 minutes together and it'll pass in a flash. By the way, all of the guided meditations I have an Insight Timer that they've been listened to tens of thousands of times all over the world, and reading the comments on those is really humbling for me. But those were all recorded live during the pause, and I just went back and edited them to some beautiful music. But those are really powerful visualizations around specific themes. Like we have a theme each week, like more allowing, less striving, navigating uncertainty, tuning in with our dreams, just some pretty powerful positive stuff. So check that out. And that about does it for me, friends. I want to thank you for your time and for being so cool to hang out with. Let me just double check my Q&A here, see if I missed anything. All right, cool. So excited about this. You launched me onto this 2014 and hit, oh my gosh, Deborah Dean hit 750 days straight today after some wobbles. Looking forward to deepening going forward. Wow, amazing. I love hearing that people are so far along with this. Oh, Barbara, how's Stuart doing? That's awesome. Family-wide practice here. Stuart started it with many Insight Timer days. 2 more of us are jumping in. That's great. That's great. I'm so inspired by all of you. Well, this has been a good use of 50 minutes or so. I appreciate your time and your commitment and your excitement, and I wish you nothing but success. Stay tuned for those 30-day prompts to kick off, ideally tomorrow. You never know with the email thing. Like, mostly works, so if it's not perfect, don't blame it on me. And the last thing I would tell you is if you can, be sure to add me to your address book in your email, or create a rule so all those prompts go into one folder or a place where you can read them and see them, just so they don't go into junk or get filtered out. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I promised I would get you out of here a little bit before the hour. Namaste. Have a wonderful weekend. And wow, let's get rolling tomorrow, right? I think I need to put on some music for this. I don't know if you could hear the music, but I could sure hear the music. That's right. All right, signing off from Silicon Valley. I wish you love, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Stuart's making some ketogenic cocoa almond pancakes right now. What? Dude, I should be over there with you. That sounds phenomenal. Deborah, can you hear these tunes? Right on, Simon. I gotta say, it's really good. I'm actually gonna run back to this one. I'm gonna go get the show. My Chuck Taylor. some running shoes in my bag. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great day.